Support comes from Gemma, architects, planners, and designers seeking to bring joy to their clients and communities. Details at gemastl.com.
From the St. Louis Public Radio Newsroom, this is The Gateway. It's Thursday, April 9th. I'm Abby Larico. Longtime Civilian Oversight Board member Ciera Simril has some advice for the state's new Board of Police Commissioners.
Meet the people where they actually are, because there's no do-overs when you're dealing with people's lives.
She sat down with STLPR's Lucretia Wembley to discuss what's next for the Oversight Board after being told it no longer has authority. That's coming up after this news on The Gateway. Unofficial results show 2 incumbents from the St. Charles City Council lost their elections Tuesday, including one candidate who lost by a single vote. As STLPR's Katie Gravich reports, the winner of the narrow race may change before results are certified.
Data center opponent Chris Kyle won Ward 1 by 1 vote over incumbent Bill Otto, according to the election night count. Officials will do a routine manual recount of some precincts today and count provisional ballots before certifying the election on Monday. Neither candidate is allowed to ask for a full recount until the election is certified. Kurt Barr is the county's director of elections.
The lead may increase, it may go to a tie, or it may flip depending on how many provisional ballots there are and what votes are cast on those provisionals.
Today's manual recount is open to the public and will take place at the County Election Authority's office in St. Peters. I'm Katie Gravich, St. Louis Public Radio.
And in St. Charles's 4th Ward, former County Assessor Scott Shipman bested longtime councilmember Mary West. She had faced criticism last year for ties to data center project developer CRG, where her cousin serves as president. Shipman says residents worry that development projects like data centers are too costly and threaten their quality of life.
We've gotten ourselves into such competition, even with our own local cities, about new projects coming in, that they're willing to give away almost anything.
And just a week after a controversial council vote on a data center project in Festus, voters there ousted 4 incumbent city council members who had previously supported that project. STLPR's Kayvon Mansouri has more.
Outraged residents vented at city council members in the weeks ahead of the election over Clayco CRG's plan to build a $6 billion data center in Festus. At a city council meeting last week, many speakers promised a political backlash against council members. Residents say the council has ignored their concerns and hasn't been transparent about the project. That promise came true as voters elected 4 anti-data center candidates and ousted the 4 incumbents by wide margins. Dan Moore beat incumbent Bobby Venz for the Ward 2 seat.
This data center fight has shook this community to the core and really honestly ignited, a community-driven effort here.
Grassroots groups that oppose the project also collected signatures on Election Day for a recall petition against Mayor Sam Richards. I'm Kayvon Mansouri, St. Louis Public Radio.
For more coverage of this week's election results, visit stlpr.org. The chief of the St. Louis County Police Department is retiring after 46 years with the force. Kenneth Gregory announced that he will wrap up a long policing career May 1st. The Board of Police Commissioners will appoint his successor. Gregory came to law enforcement in 1979, following 5 years as a teacher in the Jennings School District. He rose through the ranks before becoming chief in 2022, following the retirement of Mary Barton. He is the first black chief in the department's history. Missouri's Attorney General announced that the state's largest provider of video gambling machines will pull those machines from businesses by Friday. STLPR's Jason Rosenbaum reports on this latest twist in the long-standing Missouri policy battle.
Attorney General Catherine Hanaway says Torch Electronics will pull the plug this Friday on its devices that resemble slot machines. That comes after a federal judge ruled that the gaming machines are illegal gambling devices, prompting Hanaway and local prosecutors to go after businesses that house them. A Torch Electronics spokesman declined to comment. The company is in the process of appealing the federal ruling. Some lawmakers have sought to legalize and tax the machines that are often housed at gas stations, bars, and convenience stores. It's unclear if those bills have a pathway to passage this year. I'm Jason Rosenbaum, St. Louis Public Radio.
The Missouri House reconsidered and passed an adult education bill that had previously failed last week. The legislation seeks to expand a program for Missourians who've dropped out of high school to get their diplomas virtually. Representatives voted 94 to 48 in favor of the bill this time. Last week's opposition came from a provision that would have taken up to $4 million from the state's K-12 education budget. The chair of the House Education Committee, Ed Lewis, asked his fellow representatives to rethink their no votes. He says the program cost is a small portion of the education budget and that Missourians without a diploma cost the state more money through public support programs like SNAP and Medicaid. Illinois Republicans hope to combat rising gas prices by pausing a state sales tax on fuel. Since 2019, Illinois has seen an increasing tax on motor fuel. The gas tax currently sits at nearly 50 cents per gallon of regular gasoline. A bill proposed in Springfield would put a 6-month pause on the sales tax that comes on top of that. Bill sponsor Republican Representative Ryan Spain of Peoria says it's easy math.
Pausing that sales tax on gasoline would immediately reduce the price of gas at current levels by 20 cents.
Gas prices across the country have risen during the war in Iran. Spain says he hopes gas prices drop significantly, but even if they do, Illinois families still need, quote, additional relief. St. Louis is offering temporary jobs to people who want to help the city recover from the May 16th tornado. The St. Louis Agency on Training and Employment, or SLATE, has openings for people with experience in things like utility work, debris removal, and equipment repair. The program is intended for people who lost a job or income due to the tornado, who are unemployed or underemployed, and who are unlikely to return to their previous job. The city is offering up to $25 an hour. People who are interested can attend an informational session from now until April 24th at the Slate, Missouri Job Center on Market Street, weekdays at 2 p.m. The Cherokee Street Cinco de Mayo Festival is canceled next month. Festival organizers cite rising costs as the reason for the decision. STLPR's Andrea Henderson has more.
The event on Cherokee Street was one of the St. Louis region's largest and most anticipated Cinco de Mayo festivals. The Cherokee Street Events Foundation has hosted it for 18 years. But organization leaders say it's becoming increasingly expensive to put on a large-scale event like this one. John Jorn is the director of events for the Cherokee Street Improvement District. He said in a statement that organizers are using this time to evolve their event strategy to help activate Cherokee Street in different ways. Although the festival is canceled this year, many bars, restaurants, and shops will remain open, offering specials and entertainment to attract those celebrating the holiday. I'm Andrea Henderson, St. Louis Public Radio.
Keep podcasts like The Gateway thriving by becoming a member of St. Louis Public Radio today. Your support ensures that your community stays informed and has access to fact-based local news. Give now at stlpr.org.
One year after Michael Brown Jr. was killed by Ferguson police, St. Louis created a civilian board to review complaints about officer misconduct. Now that Missouri has regained control over the city's police department, the board was told it no longer has that authority. STLPR's Lucretia Wembley sat down with its chairwoman, Ciera Simril, who says she's worried this means residents will no longer have a voice.
They want to go back to the police policing themselves. A lot of people don't want to admit it, but we have one of the most corrupt police departments in the country. Do we have some honorable men and women that serve? Absolutely. However, we do understand that we do have some that are not so good. The Civilian Oversight Board was selected by the people that served during that time to say that these people are fit. We also have an ordinance that we had to fit the criteria for all of these things that they were looking for. The Civilian Oversight Board of St. Louis was reflective of the actual people because we live in these communities and we're around the people and see the things that are happening daily. The Board of Police Commissioners is not a reflection of that.
And so last July, City Councilor Michael Garvin essentially informed the Oversight Board that its authority was effectively eliminated because of state law that put police back under state control. And so how many complaints are backlogged at this point?
Well, prior to that, we've had a couple lawsuits. Then when they were in the process of creating the Division of Civilian Oversight, when the Detention Facility Oversight Board was created, that put the brakes on us again, where we were stuck in litigation. So all of those case files, the staff were taking in, but the board could not review anything. Approximately maybe about 800 cases that are currently sitting.
Gotcha. Okay. So it's been a few years then since you guys have been
Yes.
able to review complaints.
About time we were getting ready to do it with the new appointed members, that's when the brakes got put on again.
What were some of the positive impacts of the board, back when it was able to use its authority?
We had a lot of community engagement activity where we were educating people out in the public during that time of what our duties were. In some instances, it's not always someone having a complaint and this officer just gets in trouble. It's like we understand they're human. And there's mediation services offered that's through a third party where the officer may say, hey, I'm fine with meeting with the person and talking. You tell them, hey, man, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to curse you out. I was having a rough day. I was working a double shift, and the person is like, oh, like, man, I understand, like, blah, blah, blah. And they squash it and go on about their day. And then it's like it's not something that, leaves a mark on this officer's record or jacket at that point.
Okay. Have you or anyone from the Civilian Oversight Board had any discussions with the Police Board of Commissioners?
No. I have reached out to them myself a couple times. I reached out to their attorney via email. No response for anything.
Do you have any hope that the board will become active again?
I do have hope that it is possible. Just hoping that the citizens of St. Louis don't give up on civilian oversight, that it's not the end of the story. We are still meeting and we're still working. Obviously, I can't necessarily say exactly what's happening. So,
I gotcha. Okay.
But we're pushing.
Okay. What message do you have for the Police Board of Commissioners?
Allow agenda items around public interest to be added. Meet the people where they actually are and be accountable for your actions in that capacity, because there's no do-overs when you're dealing with people's lives.
That was St. Louis Civilian Oversight Board Chairwoman Ciera Simril speaking with St. Louis Public Radio's Lucretia Wembley. Our Rebecca Thiel edited that conversation. The Gateway is a production of St. Louis Public Radio, a listener-supported service of the University of Missouri St. Louis. Music by Ryan McNeely of Adult Fur. I'm Abby Larico, and from the St. Louis Public Radio Newsroom, thanks for listening to The Gateway.